Sweet.
No, I'm just kidding. We're good. All right. First ever podcast. Here we go. All right. So I'm just gonna ask you. So Lee, you came on and told me, and you're like, "Wow, I'm not drinking coffee anymore." After I just drank 1 cup here, 1 cup here. So I have 2 cups of coffee.
That could have been the same cup.
And you drink coffee, and you basically said coffee is the greatest thing in the world for the longest time, and now you said you haven't had coffee in 3 days. So why?
It's probably been the longest I haven't had coffee in the last 10 years, honestly. I just basically had to make a choice. Like, it's definitely eating away the enamel of my teeth. So
like, wait. So you know it is, like, you feel it?
Oh
or
yeah,
you see
yeah,
it,
definitely.
or...
Yeah, I can like feel my teeth like melting, not melting away, but like definitely not as strong and sturdy as they once were, like an oak tree.
Okay. so like for me, so a dentist told me to like drink through a straw. So that doesn't. So if you would do a straw, that's not good enough for you, because I guess it's still hitting the back of your teeth.
Yeah. So until they do make a low pH coffee, low acidity coffee. So I was looking into that. So I think it said.
See, these are
it's coffee starts.
Things
Coffee starts like messing with your teeth when it's like a pH of like 4 or 6 or something like that. So it just goes like under that, and then I don't know if that'll be less caffeine, because I know that dark roasts have less caffeine and they're less acidic. So
dark roast,
the dark.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I always never knew for the longest time that breakfast blend had the highest amount of caffeine, and it's like the lightest roast. Breakfast. All these different things. But yeah, so do you think it's safe to take? You said you're going to take caffeine pills or whatever. So you think that's safe to take a caffeine pill every day compared to drinking coffee? Or is it the same? Or
I would say it's basically the same. The pills are caffeine anhydrous, which is just like a chemical form of caffeine, not like a natural form. But I mean,
so that sounds
yeah.
Great
but I mean, that's what's in every
in
every supplement, every pre-workout, every fat burner. It's all caffeine anhydrous. That's just the chemical form of it. So I mean, I've been waking up every day and taking pre-workout, which has like 275 milligrams of caffeine. So when we talk in the morning, I'm like, let's go! I'm ready to go.
Yeah, 275.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So like, what's a cup of coffee? A cup of coffee is like 100.
And then
right?
the pills are 220. So I mean, I'm getting like, that's probably about what I was getting in caffeine before, like 500 milligrams a day. You know what I mean? For an everyday coffee drinker, that's probably about right.
3-4 cups.
So
because I mean, the same thing goes for me, because I mean, I use teeth whiteners, and I also brush my teeth like almost obsessively, because I'm weird. So it's like 4 to 5 times a day I'm brushing my teeth. I was just talking to you before we went on, and I was like, I wanted to brush my teeth. I just feel that like I drink a cup of coffee and I have that disgusting ass like film on my teeth, and it's just like, and obviously it's like fighting the tide. Eventually something's gonna happen where, you know what I mean, where like you said, your enamel breaks down or whatever. So I use the whiteners and the whitening thing, and it definitely works. And I quit smoking. Yeah, it definitely works. And also too, another crazy thing to think about is like, I was walking around and I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, like I don't want like a cigarette or a Juul like at all. And it also seems like ridiculous on this side now, because it's been, I don't know, 4 months, no nicotine. I don't know if it's that long. Yeah, it's January maybe.
Yeah, you were pretty deep into it for a little bit.
So, yeah, it was, dude. There's still like one of those like things on the ground, one of them charger things like on the ground, and I found it the other day when I was cleaning.
Gives you like Vietnam flashbacks.
I had like flashbacks, and I was just like, and then I was like walking up the steps like a little bit afterwards, and I was just like, man, I could breathe like way better. This is definitely like a way better solution than. Oh my god, dude, I was heavy into that. That was just like, I would say every 30 seconds I was hitting that thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, what's the accumulation?
And then we both almost died.
Yeah. I mean, so we both got insanely sick. So we should probably tell that story. I mean, that's relative to like what's going on. So I mean, from your perspective, and then I'll just yell my perspective. But I mean, we played a show at the Turkey Hill Brewing Company in Bloomsburg.
January.
When was that? January?
Yep.
January. So we played in January, and you know, there was our fans and people that we knew and all that kind of stuff. But there was, what was it? It was a couple from New York, right?
Yeah, they were traveling, and they said they didn't even expect to stop.
And they were traveling, and they stopped to see us, and they were like, "Oh, you guys, like, we enjoyed the show." And we talked to them for a while, and like shook hands with them, and then me and Lee both got really sick. So you tell them about your sickness, because I think your sickness was worse. Mine wasn't as bad, but mine caused me to have surgery. But yours is definitely like still where I feel better, where you still feel have like you
yeah.
have issues.
So I mean, I came up to your house. It was the first week of February, just to like chill and do work and play video games and whatever. And then I was driving home, and I started feeling like a weird like tickle in my throat. And then I said,
"But wait, back up. First of all, you were having weird vertigo at the show. Remember
yeah.
that?
So yeah, I had vertigo at the show. I got real dizzy for some reason. I had no idea what was going on.
Which is weird. But that was before we talked to them. So like it was unrelated. But I just felt like it was just such a weird thing. Like we never. All right. But anyway, so you had the weird vertigo. Then we talked to these people. We like shook their hands. And of course, back then, I mean, I was probably sticking my fingers in my mouth like 2 seconds later. I'm not thinking about that stuff at that point. Yeah, it was seriously a different world. Like, as I, you know what I mean? I literally think about it, and I'm just like, use hand sanitizer. And like, I don't touch my face. Like, you know, much more aware of that kind of stuff. But anyway, so you're driving home that night.
And I started feeling like a weird tickle in my throat. And I just started feeling like a little, like, not 100% great. Like normally I feel fucking great all the time. I eat real healthy, I work out, so like when I wake up in the morning I feel fucking great. When I'm during the day I feel great. Before I go to bed I feel great. So when I don't feel great, I'm like, what's going on? I know something's going on. Yeah. And then I told you how I was feeling the next day, and you said to me, yeah, I've been feeling kind of like I thought I was getting sick a couple days ago, but then like I wasn't sure. Yeah. And then from there,
yeah, I definitely had the back and forth type of thing where people saying like I had weird like pains in my hips, weird pains in my back, and then like just like a slight tickle, and then it would go away, and I'd be like, nah, I'm okay, and then I'd wake up and be like, wait, do I have like a fever? Do I have like I don't know, but anyways, keep going. You're definitely much more sick.
So then. From there, it slowly escalated to the point where I couldn't go to work anymore. I was so tired. That was the thing. Now looking back on it, I can kind of piece it all together. But for like 3 weeks, I was just so tired. I slept all day. When I was out of work for probably 2 solid weeks, and I just slept. I was just in bed. If I wasn't in bed, I was just like, I just want to go to sleep. I was so tired. I had this terrible cough that just would not stop. I felt a tickle in my throat 24/7. I was coughing the entire time. Even after I started feeling better and less fatigued, the cough would just not go away. And I was coughing and coughing and coughing. And I mean, that was the first week of February. It was like February 5th when I came up to your house. And then this was like end of February, like, you know, 2.5, 3 weeks later, I'm still coughing. I still have mad like mucus and phlegm and all that gross shit. And it just wasn't going away. And then, so that was February. It feels like a goddamn year ago.
Yeah, seriously. February is basically a lifetime. I mean, February 6th is my dad's birthday. So, like, I remember, because that's, I mean, the Super Bowl and, like, all that stuff. So that was before everything hit. I mean, I had my surgery March 7th. Or 5th or something like that. So it's just like that's when everything really. So in February everything seemed fine. So it was just like, oh, you're just sick with pneumonia or like whatever.
So I mean, 3 weeks later, like March 1st, I'm still coughing, and it's just ridiculous. It's been 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like I'm not feeling sick anymore. I'm not really feeling tired anymore, but I'm still coughing. And then March 6th, so almost exactly a month after we saw each other, that was when my dad got the call for the lung transplant. And at that point, I wasn't really coughing as much, but I could just feel that my lung capacity wasn't the same. If I like...
Yeah. Did you get that? Did you get an X-ray? You got an X-ray and all that. When was that?
That was the week after. That was like March 14th, I think.
Okay, so you didn't get to that part. I was wondering if you skipped that part because I felt like that was important. You got the chest X-ray, but anyways, all right, go back. So yeah, so I went in for surgery March 7th because I was sick, having trouble breathing, and the doctor was I have a deviated septum from birth that they just wanted to take care of. So they were like, okay, we're going to get you in. So I had surgery. Your dad goes in for a double lung transplant the same day. So you're obviously not worried about like your little cough or like whatever's going on. And then Monday we're in like national lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, I would say maybe the second to last week, I probably let myself go for 2 weeks of like coughing real bad. And I just felt like my lungs like weren't getting enough air in them. I thought I had pneumonia. So that was when I went to urgent care the first time. It was probably like the 3rd week of February, and they gave me prednisone. They said they listened to my lungs and they said it sounded like bronchitis. So they gave me prednisone and gave me an albuterol inhaler. And I did that for 5 days. The prednisone was intense. That shit is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've taken prednisone a couple of times, and they thought I was allergic the first time because I had such... Yeah, and like I still have issues when I go. They say, "Are you allergic to prednisone or not?" And I'm just like, "I don't think I am," but I forget. Yeah, where I was just like violently sick. Like my esophagus was like burning, and like I just remember like puking or just like feeling like I had like terrible nausea, but like not like nausea where you're just like sick because you ate too much or whatever, but like seriously like someone was just had like a match just like slowly burning in just like in my insides. It was very painful. But I mean, it's
yeah, it affects everybody so differently, is what they were telling me. For me, I felt like I was on speed the first 3 days. I was speedy. It would be like 5 in the morning, and I'd be like, all right, well, I guess I got to go to bed because that's what I'm supposed to do at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your sleep schedule's obviously you always go to bed at 5,
yeah,
and in bed at 11. But yeah, so anyway, so your dad goes in for surgery. You're feeling a little bit better. So then I guess you got to go. You go.
Yeah. So then, right? Probably so it was a week after my dad went into surgery. I still, when I'm lying down, I'm feeling like I have to cough. If I sit and don't have good posture, my lungs just it feels like half my lung capacity goes away.
Heavy,
and I have to sit up and cough.
Yeah, I feel that too, man. When you sit back and you have that pocket come down, and it puts that whatever you got that layer of fat or whatever the hell it is, and it puts that pressure on your lungs. It's just folding them. Just
and I never had that before. I never had any lung problems before at all. So it's noticeable. I definitely know that there's something going on. And even now, just leaning forward and breathing in, it's I'm at 70% lung capacity, and I don't know why. So when I went in to
you can.
So when I went in to get the X-ray, they looked at my lungs, and they did it real fast. They did the X-ray, and they came and showed it to me, and they said, we don't really see anything. We can tell that you had bronchitis, but it doesn't look anything crazy. It just looks like you're, after you have bronchitis, it takes a little bit longer for your X-rays to go back to normal. But I mean, that was mid-March. And now it's mid-May, and I still feel it. You know what I mean? It's still just as bad as it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you should if there was a way to pull up that picture that you have of Cuomo's Governor Cuomo's brother had coronavirus, and they showed a picture of his exact lungs, and you took a picture of your lungs and put them right up next to each other.
Yeah, people thought they were the same picture.
And I mean, I'm skeptical, so I immediately went on to Google and was like, oh, let me look up pneumonia and see if that looks the same, and influenza and bronchitis, and they're all slightly different, and yours was
the same spots,
absolutely identical
everything.
To the current same spots. Yeah. So for me, I had lesser, but I definitely noticed that I for a while I was feeling maybe sick, not sick, but I was definitely having trouble breathing. And then I finally got fed up, and I was starting to get anxiety where I felt like I couldn't breathe. Went to the emergency room, and I don't know, I had some type of allergic reaction, all this kind of weird stuff. They're like, okay, follow up with your primary care doctor. They're like, go see the ear, nose, and throat specialist. So I go do that, and then I have Friday. That was Monday, and then Friday, March 7th, I had surgery. Doctor's telling me to sleep sitting up. That I was having. So I don't know what the heck that was. So maybe we both had COVID, man.
We won't know until we get the antibody tests, I guess.
Yeah, really. And I mean, who knows if you get the antibody test? Who knows? different different strains and all that kind of stuff. So it's just And it's just like, I just think now that like this is going to be like, this is the norm, like these virus, like this mutated virus.
I mean, I've gotten the flu before. I've been really sick before. I've had mono, you know what I mean? All these things. I've never had lung issues for 3 months following a sickness. Never in my life. So,
yeah, I've had pneumonia like 2 or 3 times. One time, but I think 2 out of the 3 times it was like walking pneumonia where I was okay. I wasn't like bad. But like one time I got it real bad and like all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to bed like having anxiety, be like, I'm breathing okay, right? Like I'm okay, right? And I mean, that's a scary. When I used to tell you before, like when I used to have like my like depression and all that kind of stuff, and there is a difference between depression and anxiety for me. And I always thought I knew what anxiety was, but anxiety is just like this, like I'm breathing okay, but somehow I feel like I can't. And I've never felt like anything like that, whatever that would be, that type of feeling, just absolutely insane. And then I was just like, so if I'm feeling like this, I got to go to the doctor. And then, 5 days later, I'm going under, I got surgery, and then we get out, we're national lockdown. So I would still be waiting to get
So would my dad if he hadn't gotten
it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, you said your dad was
he only got one lung. He only gave him one lung. So he only has one functional lung.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so just one
not
lung.
That big of a deal then, I guess. Yeah. He only got one lung. Yeah, whatever. He just survived that. But he survived a lung transplant during the COVID epidemic. But I mean, it's a pandemic.
Yeah. So originally they were supposed to give him a double lung transplant and heart surgery. But they decided with everything going on and just because he's like, 67 or whatever, they were like, let's just do one good lung and he'll be fine. And I'm like, yeah, okay, all right.
We'll just go for one lung. We'll just go for one lung now. So does that mean maybe that they'll do a different surgery for his heart?
Well, he has stents in his heart now, and they said that it looks fine enough to be okay at the moment. But I mean, lung transplants, any kind of transplant puts a huge amount of strain on your heart. So if his heart can take getting a lung transplant at 67, it's probably doing pretty good. That's what they were saying.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that was honestly such a crazy time, man. Just think about that. I mean, I was in surgery and I'm texting you and I sent you a picture when I'm on the surgery table, like, yo, dude, they're about to put me in like the IV drip, and you're like, like, holy shit, my dad just got the call, like, he's going in for, like, a lung transplant, like, right now. Like, oh, okay, well, you know what I mean? Like, ladder of, and just ridiculousness. And then from, all the recovery, and then them worried about him getting COVID, then from him going from this section to that section, and all that stuff was, dude, it was so nuts. And, like, it's so good that, whoever thought, like,
he's doing really well. Right? We should get him on the podcast to talk about the stories that he told me of when he was in the ICU. He was basically just hallucinating the whole time because he was sedated for basically 3 weeks straight.
Like, he was. You said he was like 80. He was only like 20% there or whatever, right? Or 10%.
Oh my god, his stories are amazing. He thought that he died, and he thought that he went to hell, and that he was being tortured, and that's where he was, like lying in the hospital bed, and like the nurses were like demons torturing him. So he said at one point, one of the nurses came over, and he thought it was a demon, so he just gave him the finger. And then and he said the nurse looked at him and said, "Don't do that." Because I guess they've seen people do stuff like that before because they're just out of it. So the story that he told me was that he died and went to hell, and then he talked to a lady, which he thought, maybe was like supposed to be God or like some eternal consciousness that said, "You're not going to die yet. We have to send you back to save the world." So he said, okay. So he's like, all right. So they sent me back, and I saved the world, and everything was good. And then it was real crazy, and he was just in like this limbo place, and then they woke him up, and then he was back. But he literally thought that he was being tortured in hell.
Honestly, when you're in that like state of, you would assume it's like lucid dreaming almost type of thing, where like you feel like you can almost control the dream, or you don't know if it's, when you're really like when you're doing this, if you really don't know if it's real or not. And then you really don't know if you don't actually come, like, your dad was weeks and weeks. So when he's having these experiences over and over and over again in this like weird, like haze, like he has to think it's real. Like, why wouldn't you think it's real? It is your it was his reality for however long. Yeah, but we should totally, if he would be down, all we would have to do is do the same thing, even if we could just
like
get his audio,
that would probably be better because
you know what I mean?
He
like,
still coughs and he's still working his lung. So for him to talk for long periods is tough.
Yeah. But even if we just did like a 3-way call, like, and did it the same way, recorded you, recorded me, and then just somehow like audio grabbed his like while it was going. So all you would have to do is the phone call and nothing else. You know what I mean?
You ever see the movie? You ever see the movie Monkey Bone
awesome.
with Brendan Fraser?
That's like,
because that's he goes into a coma.
Of course I didn't.
He goes into a coma, and the whole movie is like him in this alternate coma reality. And just all the like the characters that are inside his head that like are bringing him through the coma until the very end. I think they wake him up. I forget the movie, but that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah,
and that's.
I was just saying that's pretty interesting then. Yeah, but it's just like when you say Brendan Fraser and the name of the movie, I'm just like, what does this have to do with the? Yeah, but yeah, it's crazy, and it's funny too because I didn't all that you just told me I didn't even know. Like I didn't even know all that. You know what I mean? It's just yeah. I mean, it's that's all crazy, and I mean that all went on, and that was you know what I mean, dude. That was like. I mean, it's May 16th. It was like less than a month. It's just crazy. It's just this time has just February to May, really, or like really March to May.
I feel like every week is like a month.
I would say
pretty much.
Yeah. I definitely agree. It's crazy. So now that just died that we were just talking about the Best in Show guy. Sorry to not to skip. I'm literally gonna watch.
I forget.
Hold on. Best in Show. What's his name? There he is. Fred Willard. So while we're recording this podcast, because obviously it's gonna get put on later then, but not too much later. But yeah, Fred Willard. I didn't realize he was. I mean, he's basically the same age. He was the same age as my pap.
In his 80s, right?
1939. My pap was born in 39, so. I didn't realize he didn't look that old. I didn't think he was that old, but yeah, Best in Show, definitely one of the most
Great movie.
Have you seen it? You've seen it, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember I had another guy that's actually unfortunately passed away. He was a teacher out at Shamokin, Mr. Marcinic. So some people will know who he is when I say this that are watching this. But he's the one that actually showed me that movie, and it's just funny because he had kind of a weird sense of humor, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna watch this movie," and I'm like, "Oh God, this is gonna suck." You know what I mean? Because like an older teacher like picking a movie, and then it like started, and you're like, "What is this about dogs? Like what the hell is this?
Is this real?
Yeah, is this real? Like, are these people real? Or is this just making fun of them?" And then like by the end of the movie, I was like, "Wow, that was just like it's just a phenomenal like little weird." Quirky movie with just
so funny.
A phenomenal cast of people, and they're all like perfect. And I mean, Fred Willard's, he's one of the main characters. So I'm.
If you can do straight face dry comedy like that without even missing a beat,
so I figure I'll probably watch that tonight, just because I'll have to let me watch the.
Pour one out.
Fred Willard, but oh wow, I just got a notification. I don't know if that's Joe Rogan new podcast. I don't know if that's late.
Yeah, there is one that just came out. It's a comedian though, so I'm just like,
so what is it?
It's just a comedian.
I mean, that's okay. I mean, whatever. I mean, you saw what he did with the doctor last time. It was like kind of he's still like he didn't let her talk, you know what I mean? So it was just like,
Yeah. I love when he has like physicists on and like scientists, like real deep
See, like
shit.
Right now, like when we were talking, like I want to hear your dad's story or like talk about like fitness or music, because like that's the stuff that you know about. Like when you're like, oh, like caffeine's a sodium chloride. Like I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff. But it's just like it's there. Like with the Rhonda Patrick, he was just kind of like dictating where it was going to just be like, yo, let's just talk about like immunity or
that's why I like when he has like guests on that have never been on the podcast. He kind of lets them talk more to get their ideas out, but she's been on so many times, they're just like friends, so it's just like them just like talking basically. But I like Lawrence Krauss. He's a physicist, some kind of physicist. He does a really good podcast on there. Sean Carroll is an astrophysicist. He does a really good one. He's been on there a couple times.
This is where you get the good information. So like
I love the physicists on there. They're fucking to see people who are so much smarter than me. Like I consider myself smart, but only in the the fact that I can like comprehend things that smart people say to me more often than like a really, really dumb person, but like I can never come up with these ideas.
I feel like I feel like I have a general sense of, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm definitely not smart enough to do any of this stuff, or really, I mean, you can comprehend stuff like when you're talking about the caffeine and the different, I understand that, like, you know, it's a chemical difference of caffeine, and then like the chemical in the pill is different, but like I don't understand like past that you're explaining that it's two different things. So, you know,
I mean, neither do I really. I'm just repeating what smart people have told me. Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, everything's crazy now. So like, I was just, to shift gears, I guess we'll go to music, since we're like whatever. So like people that don't know, me and Lee run a festival together, and we're business partners and all this stuff. We've been playing in a band together for 10 years and all this kind of stuff. So short story. We run 4 events a year, 2 indoors, 2 outdoors, and we ran one in January. Everything was fine, obviously. And now we have one in May that was canceled. We have one in August. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But we usually get around like 500 people. You know, that's 300, 500 people in attendance. So now, with everything going on, me and him right here have to figure out how we're going to move on forward, or like what's even going to happen. But we, you know, like everybody said, like concerts are going to be the last thing to come back. And that's the biggest thing is, you know, essential stuff comes first, businesses open first, all that kind of stuff. But then you have the thing is like, you know, some people are going to be scared. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how can you feel? Is everybody going to wear a mask in like a 20? Like, how does that change the entire music industry from here on out? I mean, they could say tomorrow, hey, it's safe, everything's okay. But, you know, there's still going to be people that aren't going to want to do that. So it's just like, so that's just a section of like music that's just going to lose like revenue. That's basically my point is, you know, everything's suffering right now, but I feel like the arts are going to suffer the most, I guess is what you would.
Yeah. It's hard to pass a J when everybody's wearing masks.
You know this is going to be on a podcast, sir.
Oh, jeez.
But it is true. Like, they're doing these things with like the drive-ins and like all this stuff. Like, they're all temporary solutions, man. Like, that's not. And just like, and the other thing, like, we have an Threestival art quarantine group where, like, you know, bands play live, artists share their art, all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool to, like see all these bands and do all this kind of stuff. But there's nothing like live music. Yeah. Like, you know, and Threestival was built on, you know, smaller groups of people, not these huge crowds, but, you know, we have a stage that actually just like melts with the crowd. Like, there's no like raise. Everybody can, there's some people standing on the stage and everybody's mixing, and like, so what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, how do we regulate that? Are they gonna have shows and everybody stands like this, and you know what I mean? And everybody's, you know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or financially, for, I'm not even saying outdoor venues, I think is going to be a little bit easier because, you know, you're not spread. But like Tower Theater in Philly, perfect example.
You're like Sprout Music Collective,
so
that tiny
even,
place.
Yeah, so a place that's a bar that has music, or even like Tower is like a little bit bigger. They hold 3,000 people or 2,500 people, right? So I went to see Primus there before. So what are they going to say? Okay, every third seat can be occupied. So what are you going to charge 4 times the price for the ticket? You know what I mean? Like, what, like how is...
Yeah. And I mean, if everybody's singing and yelling, it's going to be spraying stuff anyway. So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So it's like, if that's what so we're in a confined space. So it's just like, so yeah, I mean, really, until vaccine comes out and then if everybody wants to do it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be mass chaos, and it's going to be like this for a really long time. I think, hopefully, you know, some kind of treatment comes out and changes, you know, the trajectory that we're kind of on. But, you know, that's the companies that are going to suffer. You know, I just think of like, you know, like Club XL in Harrisburg, and like how are they surviving right now? You know, I see the guy who does like live streams and stuff like that. I vaguely know him from playing there a couple of times and all that kind of stuff. But and they do like a live stream and it gets a few thousand views, and like that's great. People are donating, but like there's no way. I mean, when you're doing, 1,000 tickets on a Friday and Saturday night, back-to-back nights, 2,000 people, 20 to 25,000. You're bringing in 40, 50 grand, 100 grand in sales a weekend with alcohol easily at a place like Club XL.
Yep.
And they're just like, they're not running anything. And then they're going to slowly open and say you can have 1/10 of the capacity. And then, like we said, are people going to want to go to that stuff because they're not going to have money? Of course, at first, everyone... Because, like, I've been reading a couple articles, like, all these places that are reopening, like, retail places that are, like, small businesses. They get real crowded, and then the next week, everybody kind of backs away because nobody has any money. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's such a crazy time, and it's just, you know what I mean? I don't know. Is everything going to change? But, like, how does the dynamic of concerts and music, how can that change and evolve where you can still see live music and be able to have like 100,000 people gathered in a field, So like that's the last thing that's going to come back, So and especially indoor events even more, like Bryce Jordan Center, going to see we saw Dave Matthews in '04 or whatever the heck it was. You know what I mean? I mean like 17,000 people inside a little dome. Like when is that?
It's a giant petri dish.
Yeah, basically. And I mean, that's what they're seeing is the problem is really the density of people. I mean, look at New York, like, I mean, the density of people everybody's so close together. If everybody's living in an apartment complex, they can't get away from it, nursing home, all that kind of stuff. And it's just, so how can you say, just even these bands like, Dave Matthews canceled their whole summer tour and they're just going to do it next year. But like,
will it be fine next year?
Yeah. Like, who knows what's, it's just, so that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, maybe it will be fine some year, but it's not going to be exactly the same. There's not going to be the same amount of people that want to go because there's going to be a certain percentage that maybe are a little scared or just decide, whatever, or they're going to put some regulations on how many people can be there. And then people will say, oh, it's not the real deal anymore. I'm not going to go to a concert and wear a mask because think about it, going to see Dave Matthews in 100-degree weather and having to wear a mask the whole time, and like
people will be passing out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then on top of it, standing 6 feet apart, like is that a feasible thing for people to do? Like,
there's no way.
No, it's not. Like
especially when they're drinking.
Yeah. So is everybody going to be drinking alcohol and like doing all that kind of... So it's the same thing for Threestival. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have somebody taking temperatures as people are coming in? And then what do we do? Somebody says, oh, well, I'm at 99.9, like, I don't want to go. Or, like, it's just like, are we going to make all our patrons wear masks? Like, can we realistically enforce that in a campground? Like, obviously we can't. We can recommend that everybody does it, but then there's going to be some people that aren't. And it's just like that whole mess of just everything together, basically us trying to figure out what's going on. Just everybody collectively scrambling to grab information and believe in it, but then 3 days later it's like it's wrong, and then you got to go to something else, and that's what we're in, where is just and then on top of it,
it kind of makes all media before this happened like obsolete. Like you look at stuff that came out like 4 months ago before any of this happened, and it's like a different universe.